Hey guys, this is Tina from Quantum Healing with Tina. I'm a BQH practitioner, spirit releasement therapist, and intuitive empath. Today we're here with Karen
Hello.
to talk about a really fun session we had like in the beginning when we first started this. It's been a long time, but it was about the ego, and that came up recently. Um, I had posted this story in the Quantum Healers Forum, and someone had commented on it recently, asking for advice on how to handle the ego when it comes up in sessions, because she was having difficulty in her last couple sessions where the ego was answering the questions, and she could tell because it was very defensive. And no matter what she did, even with acknowledging it, she couldn't get it to fall back and let the higher self speak. Um, so I thought it was interesting that that came up again, um, because it made me realize after that session that Karen had with her ego, like it's pretty much been
Pleasant.
integrated. Yeah. Like it's not like badgering you like it used to. Like your ego used to come out and really give you a hard time. And that's what it was. So the session opened where we landed in a coffee shop, and the waitress came out to get you and said that somebody was waiting for you, and took you back to the table, and you got to the table and you saw God and your ego
Yeah.
sitting at the table.
Across from each other, and they were both looking at me like, "Who are you gonna sit next to?" And I was like, "No." And then I wasn't gonna choose, so I ended up getting like a little stool to go sit in the middle because I wasn't picking sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not picking sides.
And that was a really fun scene. I mean, like how exciting that God's sitting there at the table. But like for some reason I was more excited to talk to the ego because I had never talked to the ego before. And the ego was really excited to be there because in that session, like I had changed the script a little bit, and for some
Yeah, you
reason
did like a longer induction. I think you're trying some longer one because
it
it
was
was
longer.
in session. I think. Yeah, it was just my
Yeah.
second session. So yeah, it was longer. And I remember I started itching.
Itching.
I was
Yeah.
talking to myself a lot. And then we learned later when you spoke to the ego that you thought it was so long. And yeah, he referred to himself as he.
Yeah. Which I thought was really interesting because it still looked like you, but he was referring to himself as male. And yeah, and so we found out that, yeah, he was the one making you itchy because it was too long and he just wanted it to be over. So then we put it together that he was the one showing up in your meditations to make you itchy, because you would get itchy in your meditations too, and he wanted to stop that because he didn't want you to heal.
Right. It was stopping everything. It was just like, oh, can't get anywhere. Like I would just be everywhere. Itchy, itchy, itchy. So yeah,
Right.
he was really upset. Just to backtrack my story again. Um, so yeah, I lived with this ego for a long time, like everybody else, except I was fighting it a lot when I knew better. Like I had this new sense of awareness after my awakening, and then I started the healing process. And in that healing process, I went through a really bad depression and, you know, had to be off work and did a lot of healing there too, a lot of introspection. I took all that time to do that. And um I remember I had a desperate moment. I was meditating and I was crying to the universe and I go, please, like give me an answer. And the door knocked and it was the mailman who had a delivery from Tina. Actually, she sent me a book, New Earth. That's what it's called, right? New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. And that book also helped me. It was all about the ego, like being conscious of yourself and understanding your pain body and understanding that your thoughts are not yours. So anyway, that had saved heartache. Just understanding that had put a stop or an end to that. And like I feel like in the process, like where I don't know if it's like people like in the community that are saying that, you gotta shut your ego down and turn it off, or
Kill the
like, yeah,
ego.
kill the
Yeah.
ego, get rid of the ego. But you can't. I go, you're here in this physical body, and the physical body comes with an ego. You cannot, this is where the spiritual journey is. It's the body, and well, yeah, the ego is having a spiritual journey because the soul is not. We're already there. So yeah, I had, I guess, like when I had finally gotten to the understanding of the ego and made, kind of friends with it, then I don't know if it was friends, but I pretty much like sent it to the beach, like on vacation, a permanent vacation, where now I could finally live my life in peace. But of course, in healing, it doesn't really work that way. There's no permanent healing. And I learned that the hard way. And yeah, things would start coming up again, like later on. And the suffering I felt was harder and worse. And then, yeah, it was because the ego or the inner child, whichever one it was that was coming to the forefront, was badgering harder and harder just to get my attention. So, you think that you're all well and love and light, and then an issue comes up, and then of course you're triggered, and then the voices and the thoughts start coming. So, I mean, me knowing very well that yes, I am healed, or in it, or I've done a lot of work, and then hearing these voices again that are just piercing and piercing harder and harder, and I'm just like, I go, but I know better. So I'm having arguments with myself in my mind, back and forth, ego versus soul, back and forth. They're just arguing and bickering like and yeah, and then we finally had this session. I guess, like, I mean, I had done really well up to the point, I would talk to Tina about things, and things would subside, thank God. But then when we had this session about, like, and the ego came up, it was really important for me. Like, I feel like after that point, like, I had integrated my ego. So instead of like killing the ego and getting rid of it and putting on a permanent vacation, it's really about like grabbing all parts of yourself and being one. And so with the ego, instead, like, he didn't want to be on vacation. I think what really helped a lot was when Tina was saying that, how about be part of the journey with her, and, so that you could be, work together instead of, putting you away somewhere as if like you don't belong or you're not welcome in this life because you've done so much harm, or, and I felt like the ego like had really eased in that, because all it really wanted to do in my life or in everybody's life is just to have a voice, to be heard. And I guess in the healing process, that it has a role in there too, that it can heal as well and join me. So it doesn't have to be separate from me. We don't have to
Right.
shun it or put it away, and it just becomes part of you. And since then, I haven't had any real issues or triggers or anything like that. Nothing like to the point where it was hard, or, losing sleep over, or it would give me anxiety. But yeah, it was just really nice to see it in a different light. And I felt like it was seen. And through that, it healed, and it just merged within me. And
Right.
now we are in unity and loving life together. Because I think all it really asked for was just like, maybe in the morning she could just say good morning,
Mhm.
say hi to me, you know? And it was just as simple as that. We think that it's trying to sabotage, when yes, it does. When an unhealed ego will sabotage, because it's just trying to get its voice there, to be heard, to protect you, you know, and
Scared.
we badger it so much, but it's really trying to just protect you and love you in the way that it knows.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was amazing.
Well, Yeah, that was an amazing session. I think it's really important to not discard those aspects of ourselves that come up in sessions like that,
Mhm.
because we're just kind of so focused on getting answers from the higher self, right? So then again, we're pushing the ego down and pushing the ego down when it's obviously coming up for a reason and wants to be heard. It needs to be heard so that you can eventually get past that and integrate the ego into the whole so that the connection with the higher self can be better. And ever since that session, your connection with your higher self has been so on point. And
Clear. There's
yeah,
nothing
like,
in the way that's making me second guess or question myself or what I do or what I'm saying or what I see. It's part of me. And
right.
it's not that it's not there anymore. It's just on the spiritual journey with me.
It's a healthy ego now.
Hmm.
Like, we need an ego to survive in this 3D world, but we need a healthy ego. We don't mean the ego that we are trying to suppress is what needs to be healed. It needs to come along on the journey with us. And
Yeah.
your ego is so funny. That whole scene was really one of my favorite scenes that we've done so far, because it was so, with the hat. He had the hat. He had the hat on sideways and was like, so like all about it. And then he started telling me about how you had a really rough week and he was making you cry and think about all of these things from the past, and all of these, what did he call them? Uh, Techniques or something that he would use. It was something like that. All of these techniques he had, like he would play sad songs on the radio or implant packages of thoughts into your brain and like do all these wild and crazy things. But at the root of it, he just wanted attention. He just wanted to be loved. He just wanted you to acknowledge him and say, it's going to be okay. You have nothing to be afraid of. Like, we're on this journey together and I'm not going to leave you behind. You can come with me. If like we can't exist without each other. So I want you to come with me. And, but I want you to heal alongside of me. And so he reluctantly agreed to do that.
Yeah, he's like, just to prove you wrong. He was just being.
Yeah. Yeah. He said he just wanted to prove me wrong. Um, but that conversation was priceless because he really got to say everything he wanted to say. And even in the beginning, he was like, oh, I never get this session. When's my session? Like, I want to talk. Remember that part? I'm like,
Right.
well, you're here now.
Right. The reason why the ego ended up showing up was because in the induction, the script was saying, what was it? Like it was
It says something like,
mind,
be one
body.
with all, be one with all, or one with mind, body, and soul. And so then he was like,
Well, they're
oh, okay.
talking to
What does
me.
that mean? Yeah.
Yeah. He's like the mind present.
Yeah.
Yeah. And stepped in. Thought it was a great opportunity. But yeah, it was really fun to see. God was really just there. He was in a beach outfit. Like he was. Yeah. And the reason why they were in a beach outfit was because that's where I had banished the ego when I had
Right.
done my first round of healing, like my hardcore round of healing. And after reading that book, I was just like, well, I don't need my ego anymore. So go to the beach now. Gave it like a couple of pina coladas and I just left
Yeah.
with her.
He said, he's like, yeah, she just leaves me there and sends me pina coladas all day. And he's like, well, I don't mind, but I want to come back from the beach sometime. Like, it was a really fun and like insightful conversation with your ego. And the best part of that was the healing that you felt afterwards. And like how it stopped badgering you and really
Yeah,
opened that communication with your higher self, which is amazing.
right. I would literally have fights in my head. And I would tell you this all the time. I'm like, I am just fighting in my head because I know better. But then there's just that conversation. It's just going and going and going. And I can't stop it, even though I know better. And it's like, how do you stop that? Because it's like, stop. Like, I don't
Yeah.
need to know that. Like, I know. So it was like really torn in two, like tug of war of knowing better and just having to listen to it talk. And since then, since I said, come along with me on the journey, it healed too. Like I really felt like it just merged beautifully within. And the same thing happened. I mean, like I had like a bit of an inner child situation, like maybe a couple of months later. And I thought it was the ego, or the ego came up and said that it was him. So I'm like, well, what's that about? I go, we haven't had any issues. And then I ended up being about my inner child. And he was just like, I'm sorry, I was just covering for her. So that was a really another indication that we were healed together. It was just there trying to be nice and trying to take care of the inner child within. And yeah,
Yeah, that was
that
amazing.
works, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but that session, well, let's talk about the manifestations that occurred during that session, which
Right. Well,
were
how about we
crazy.
begin? Right. Um, well, in my first session, online session, there was a fly that came, a really big one. You said it was a huge horse fly, like a
Yeah,
massive fly,
big.
which ended up playing its role in that. I think if you watch the other videos, which you'll tag down below, um, yeah, and then you had, I think another session or a pre-session. There was a praying mantis in the bedroom, a big one,
Big one.
big as a hand,
On
no, like almost as
Oh
big.
yeah, bigger than my hand, and it was on my bedside table.
Right. I remember being on video chat with you, and you're like, I don't know how to get. How am I gonna get it out? Like, you know,
Yeah.
and right. And so I came to visit like a couple of days later. It wasn't that much long after the praying mantis came into it. And I remember standing by your night table, imagining the praying mantis being there because I was just like, I go, if I saw a praying mantis, I go, I don't know how I would take it. I would probably die because of how big it was. And I go, watch something bigger come.
Yeah.
Watch something bigger come. And you're like, don't say that. Like, watch what you're saying. And I was like, all right. But I had already let it go into the ether.
Sure did.
And sure
Sure
enough,
did.
during the ego session, Tina was talking to the ego, and all I hear after that was like screaming, screaming. And what comes
Yeah,
into the room was
a bat, a big
people
one.
are like, "What? A
A
bat?"
bat came. First of all, I heard the scratching noises, and I'm thinking, oh my God, is there like an alien outside my window or something? Like I
And
was
there's one
really
in your
thinking that.
bed.
Yeah. It was like I could hear the scratching. I'm like, what is that? Like I kind of like heard it in the background, but I wasn't paying attention to it because I never expected that. The next thing I know, I saw it happen. The bat came out of my baseboard heater and just started flying in circles around the room. Like it was the craziest thing that I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
Like it didn't come in through a window or a door. It came in through the baseboard heater. Like what?
How? I know.
How?
Like,
Crazy
right.
thing. So then, like, I felt its fear. Like, I felt really bad for it because it was in this strange place, doesn't know what's going on. It's just flying in circles in the daylight, and they don't come out in the daylight. I mean, it wasn't daylight, but it was bright in here. Um, and yeah, so I felt really bad. So then I tried to call the emergency maintenance, and he answered, but it was this weird, it sounded like a weird robot voice. Like it was a really strange connection. So I just kept talking in case he could hear me, but it was like, yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It was like a
Auto tune.
robot voice, and I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, what is happening? Because I really didn't
Yeah.
think it could get any worse than the fly. Like that situation was crazy. There was a fly, there was a fire, there was like Karen's in her childhood home, and I'm like trying to put out a fire. Next thing you know, there's a praying mantis. Now there's a bat flying around my apartment in the middle of a session. Like, what is happening?
Meanwhile, I'm still
Under,
in the
I'm like, just
coffee
stay
shop.
under the covers. Yeah.
I'm still in the coffee shop with God and the bat. Not the bat.
Yeah.
And the ego. And yeah, we were talking because I saw it. I saw it very briefly. Like I looked and then I was like, okay, I'm going under the covers. And yeah, God was saying that, yeah, that was direct manifestation of what you just said before. So yes, careful what you ask for. Intention is everything.
Intention is everything. And then so I called back on the emergent. First of all, no, that's not what happened. I called the emergency line and nobody answered.
Right.
And
And
so
then
then
you called the
I
actual phone number.
called. No, I called the phone number of one of the maintenance men that I know, because I'm like, I don't know who's on call. Like, I don't know what's going on. So I called him, and that's when I got the robot voice. And then I called him back, and he came over, and he's like trying to do it with a broom. I'm like, what are you doing with the broom? Like, what's gonna happen? I'm like, don't you guys have a net or something? He's like, oh yeah, we do have a net. So he goes to get the net and comes back, and he finally catches it. And then he's like, yeah, we never even really use the net because the bats are so small that they go right through it. But this bat was literally like 10, 12 inches wide. It was a big one, huge. And I wasn't necessarily afraid of it. I felt bad for it. I knew it was a divine manifestation, obviously.
Right.
And I just wanted it to be taken outside safely, which it finally was. Um, and then I came back to you, and God and the ego were laughing at us. And I'm like, yeah, you're
I was
nice and
still
safe.
in it.
Huh?
And I was still in it. I think you were gone for like half an hour. I was under the covers for half an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. Which was crazy. And so then we found out later, like the symbology of the bat, which ended up being the perfect message for you and the ego. It was I don't remember it exactly, but I'll post my um story about it below if anybody wants to read it. But it was like the perfect symbology. It was like something about bringing the darkness to light,
Mm-hmm.
and the ego and the bats, they are very loving and nurturing beings, especially with their families. And I really felt that from the ego. Like I felt that he really just wanted that love. He just wanted your love, and it was like a child acting out in
Right.
order to get it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So
As are a lot of people's egos, you know? And that's like the number one thing or the biggest lesson of it was not, you cannot banish parts of yourself. You cannot hate parts of yourself. If this is the journey to love, you cannot resist something that is a part of you and it will persist. And it did. It proved it to me that it was persisting and persisting. Even though I knew better, it still wanted a voice to be seen and heard and validated. And then until really I said, come on with me. You could be like my sidekick. I
yeah,
was so excited to join.
yeah,
This wants to be with us. And they could work with you instead of against you.
yeah. That was a really beautiful conversation. Like I really loved having that conversation with the ego. It was so funny. It was just like like a bad child, and um, it really did. I was surprised that it really did listen to me, what I had to say, even though reluctantly, it was listening and actually did hold its word. And
Right. They are very loyal. They
yeah,
are. I mean, like, they're there to serve a purpose. Like, when they're not healed, they're really there to protect you, and they only act out on the way that they know how, the way that they're nurtured to act that way. And until you nurture it and really love it, it's like your best friend. It's really like a ride or die.
yeah,
Legit, ride or die.
yeah, yeah. I think that's such a
He
good
loves,
message. Huh? He
he's
loves
loving
that.
it. Yeah, I feel it. I see him. Like he's like on me, like on my thing. You know?
Oh, well,
Yeah.
hi, ego.
Yeah, really happy.
Yeah, and I think that's an important message for people is um, we can't just shut down the ego. We have to integrate it into the whole and love it. Um, and I think a new earth is a really amazing, like that book saved my life. And I'm glad I passed it on to you for it to save your life because
Of course
it
it would.
really was, of course,
Of course.
it was a game changer for me. I read that book and literally my whole world changed because I realized that we didn't have to believe every thought that we think and that our ego is trying to sabotage us in that way and that we have a higher guidance system that we can tap into to know the truth of things. The thing is just about retraining the brain um,
Mm-hmm.
and replacing all those negative thoughts that are coming at you constantly, negative self-talk and
Oh yeah.
the judgment and all of that, and replacing those thoughts with good thoughts. It takes a while. Like it takes a couple years to really get through those hard times where you're really still anxious and depressed. But it's an immediate game changer when you understand that you don't have to believe everything you think, and your ego is just there trying to protect you, and you
Mm.
understand the pain body and why it's coming up and what it's doing. But yeah, I would recommend A New Earth for anyone that's having anxiety or depression or struggling with mental illness. I really believe that mental illness is a call to awakening, a
Absolutely.
call to
I think all the
because
covered illnesses that are really pushing you to trust something else outside, like, I mean, or I don't even know how to express that, but like these things that are just a roadblock, a huge roadblock in your life that's just stopping you from living, getting over that is a huge game changer where you will
yeah.
wake up, you know, something like that.
Well, yeah, and mental illness, quote unquote, in like tribal societies is taken really seriously, um,
Mhm.
because they feel that those people that have these mental illnesses have special gifts and can tap into the divine and can tap into spirit. So they take those people and they really nurture them and love them and give them the care that they need while they're going through this process of awakening, because they recognize that it's an awakening process. So they give them the love and attention and nurturing that they need. And then that person usually becomes the shaman of the village,
Right.
right? Yeah. But in our society, people with mental illness are isolated and cast out and called crazy and whatever. But it's not recognized as really a call to awakening, because when you're feeling that depression, that is your soul telling you, like, there's something wrong here.
Oh yeah.
You're not living life the way you should be living life. Like, it's really a call to check in with yourself and see what's really going on in there. Like, you're not going to medicate depression away. You have to go through the process of it and really look inside yourself and understand why you're having these feelings, like why you don't want to be here anymore. Like, and it's usually because you're living in a way that's so far from how we should be living as a human
Mm-hmm.
in our society that is so sick. It's so sick, and it focused on all of these things that have no meaning, like materialism.
Right.
You know, what's a house and a car going to do for you, or a mansion and $1 million, if you can't even be with yourself?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the sickness. People can't be with themselves.
Right. They don't know how to be with
Wow.
themselves. They don't even know what that means. They don't
Right.
know anything. And that's really the journey of awakening, is waking up to all of that, and really um, understanding why we have those feelings, because we're living in a way that is so unnatural for us.
Right.
And so that's what's creating all these, and then the need to keep up with it all, right? Like, you're supposed to do these certain things, and if you don't do these certain things, then you're a failure, or you're not successful, or you need to up your game or whatever.
Right.
But
Been there, done that. I mean, we've done it. We've gone through the path of what success is supposed to be like and completely reversed everything.
yeah,
Got out of all of it. Like, we're not even really following that path.
no, like,
It's
we
un-
created our own path, because that path is destructive,
right.
really destructive for the mind, body, and soul. I mean, I got chronically ill trying to keep up with the facade. It's really just a facade, and trying to do things that I thought was the right thing to do when it wasn't what I wanted to do. It's what I thought was the right thing to do.
Right.
Yeah, it's and so, yeah, so then the ego gets out of control, because it's just sick. It's just a sick society. But yeah, there is hope, and you can heal that, and the ego can be reintegrated into the whole. And
It wants
Karen,
to.
it wants to, and you're such a beautiful example of that, and I love that so much. Like,
Oh, yeah.
that the
She see me in like my bad times.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have seen your bad times, and I know, because I've had them too. Like, I've been there too. I've been, like, before we met, I was in the deepest, blackest hole of depression you could possibly be in. But, after I read The New Earth, I really just took one day at a time and took baby steps to being healthy, and waking up spiritually to. And, I woke up, because I'm a very scientifically minded person, logically minded person, right? So what
Mm-hmm.
grabbed my attention wasn't like the fluffy spiritual stuff. It was the actual scientific stuff, the study of consciousness, and like the random thought generators, and Dr. Emoto's water experiments. And I'm seeing all these things, like, wow, there's something more here. There's something bigger than us going on here, you know?
Right.
Um,
It's so
so yeah,
beyond the matrix.
so beyond. Yeah,
So beyond.
yeah. And just like every single day, just putting one foot in front of the other, knowing that if I continued, it would get better. And it did. And just knowing that, and holding that space for yourself while you're like rewiring your brain and rewiring your thoughts, and understanding that you don't have to believe them, and that they're not only yours, but you're picking up on everybody else's stuff too. of
Right.
thoughts that have been thought millions and zillions of times. You're picking them up from the field and making them your own.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
had to really go deep into the dark night of the soul to get to where we are now.
Yeah.
We really had to. I mean, this is where I we lose a lot of people. It's because they don't want to feel that. They don't want to see anything that's wrong with them, or don't know how to go about it, or it takes too long, or they don't give themselves enough time or compassion to go through it or to even wait for results. Sometimes people just like being a victim, and I'm not saying that's wrong or right, but I mean, when you're so sick of it and sick of suffering,
That's it.
you're
You
gonna
have to be.
you have to get to that point where you're so sick and tired of being so sick and tired
Mhm.
of being so
That's,
sick and tired.
yeah, it's true. Like humans always have to get to that point before they make the necessary changes, because changing is hard. It's hard for humans. They don't like it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't like it. I had to get to the point where I literally couldn't take it another second, you
Right.
know, before I changed mentally and physically with my health. That's another level. Like I had to get to the point where I literally couldn't live another day in that amount of pain before I took the steps to change my diet, to actually heal myself from the inside out. That's
Right.
just how we're wired, and people really have to be at rock bottom and really just done with it all before they change. So, I mean, I get that.
Yeah, me too.
I get it. But yeah.
But I swear, like, freedom's on the other side. It's there waiting.
Yeah, don't
Waiting.
wait to hit rock bottom. You don't have to. Like you can start making the little changes today to actually make your life better and not have to hit rock bottom. Like it's not fun, you know. And
No.
if there and really my whole journey was like if I can get through this suffering, 'cause it was some deep suffering. Like, I would just want to save one other person from going through this as well, knowing that they don't have to, there's a better way. There's
Right.
so much more, like, there's so much more than what they tell us, because we're always looking outside. They tell us we need to look outside of ourselves for people to heal us, whether it's a doctor or a psychiatrist or whatever. It's just always outside of ourselves. But it's not until we really stop and look within and realize that we're connected to a greater source of wisdom and we have that wisdom within us
Right.
and we can heal ourselves.
Well, that's it. We That's exactly what we did. We were lucky that we had a good support amongst you and I, but in the end, we both had to do the own work alone. It had to click inside. She can't make it click for me. It has to click for me. You know? People are
Right,
just waiting, like, do something for me or help me, but it has to make sense, and you have to apply it. You could just gather so much theory about how to do it and not apply it to your life and
right,
give advice to people to do it when you haven't done it yourself. But no, you have to actually apply it to yourself and be patient and be compassionate and just hold space for yourself and see the results starting to happen. Just your change in perspective could really be the biggest game changer. At least for me, it was just a really small change in how I saw everything changed everything. I woke up, and that was enough for me to be like, oh my God, I don't have to suffer anymore. And I
mm-hmm,
really don't have to suffer anymore. And
yeah.
that's why I think I get intense with some people. I'm like, I don't have to suffer anymore. It's hard for me to watch people suffer. Perhaps that's just the codependent too. But yeah, it's so difficult because you just want everyone to be happy. When you're happy, you want everyone else to be happy, and you just want them to heal too. And there's a way. There's there's definitely a way, and no one could do it for you but you. That's really bottom line. But we're here to guide you to get there,
Mm.
but you're gonna have to want it. You have to want it.
Have to want it, right? Have to want it. I don't think it's codependent. I think it's just human to not want to see other people suffering. I don't think it's codependent.
Codependent no more.
Codependent no more. You're just human, and it's hard to see people going through things that you know don't have to be so hard,
No.
but they aren't ready to hear it. So there's nothing you can do but step back and allow them the space to go through that on their own and maybe find out the hard way. I mean, we have to allow people to have their own journeys, and there's only
Absolutely.
so much we can
I
do.
myself, I mean, to be example, especially for people who have known me for a long time, who have known me pre-healing and post-healing. They've seen the changes, and I mean, you can see it in my eyes. It's not the same. My eyes
Yeah.
have changed completely. They're more alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, if anyone needs help out there, get in contact with us.
Yeah, and if you want session to at least start the healing process, maybe you just want to get a couple of answers from yourself. We're here again to be of service.
Yeah, if you want like um, a bubble session to connect with your higher self, um, and receive some guidance from your higher self in that way, like before you're ready to jump in and have a full session. But a full session will really open you up and open you up to all the possibilities within yourself of the connection and healing and love from your own inner wisdom and your higher guidance team. So, yeah. Anything else?
Just be happy.
Be happy.
Just be happy right now.
Love yourself. Be
Yeah.
happy and love yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Um, there's a lot of intense energy right now with the. Why can't I talk? There's a lot of intense energy right now with the ascension, and yeah, we really just have to be gentle with ourselves and um, compassionate and patient.
Very
Um,
patient.
yeah, especially with the body, because the body is trying to process all of this stuff and has a lot of work to do of rewiring and, the nervous system and DNA and, all the stuff going on inside of us. Like this morning, I laid in bed all morning because my whole body was twitching, like
Mm.
twitching. Like I could feel it under the skin, like that, like frogs were jumping out of my skin.
Yeah, I had that here in my temple here,
Yeah,
like a
it
frog,
was,
baby frog.
yeah. It was intense. So like I knew a lot was going on. So I just allowed myself to lay there in bed and till the afternoon. And I did a archangel meditation and it went away after that. So yeah, just be gentle with yourselves. Give yourself the time and space that your body needs to really process everything because it's a lot. I mean, I think if we could see, like physically see what was going on in the body, we would understand better. But when you can't see it, it's hard to understand. But I watched a video, someone sent me a video earlier of a girl that like has the quantum vision to see it. And she said she saw like all of this stuff happening within the body and the
Yep.
DNA upgrading and the systems like all rewiring and like all of this stuff going on. I'll post that down below too, so you guys can see. But yeah, so just be gentle with yourselves, and we're sending you so much love. We'll see you next time. Thanks for hanging out with us. That was fun.
Please like and subscribe. Comment
Oh
down
yeah.
below.
Yeah, that too. And hit the little bell for notifications for future videos so you don't miss us.
Okay. Peace, love.
Peace out. What does Munchie say?
We'll just
Stay awesome. Stay awesome and share the love. That's what she
yeah.
said. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey, guys. So we have a little giveaway for you, those who stayed till the end. We're going to give away a free BQH bubble session to a random person who comments down below the name of the animal that showed up in our session with the ego. So comment down below with that answer, and we're going to pick at random the lucky winner.
Our first giveaway.
Our first giveaway. Yeah, and so mini BQH bubble session is where you submit up to 5 questions for your higher self, and Karen will connect to bring forward that information and healing that you need. So it's really valuable, like super valuable session. So yeah, super fun. And we'll let you know as soon as like a couple people comment and we pick at random. I guess by like a week after I post this video, I'll give it a week and then pick the winner. Exciting!
Yes.
Yay! All right, so that's it. Thanks
Good
for
luck.
watching and good luck. Bye.